Welcome back to the Wizard Shop, and today we're going to do a buy this, not that, small summer cruisers.
You mean you finished my Ferrari?
No, it's not done. Let's get started. But yes, when this car is done, it will be a fun, small summer cruiser. We're getting into the season now where the weather's getting warmer. We're starting to get itchy for a small, fun car to cruise around in with the top down, thinking about the wind blowing through our hair or the lack thereof. And I'm getting lots of questions about what's a cool small car that I can buy for summer cruising. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've dug out the old thinking chair, and we're going to start off with the ones that you should buy. I'll list 3 that will be really good buys. You could buy them with confidence that would be fun and enjoyable through the summer. The first one that you should buy is 99 to 2007 Toyota MR2.
Ooh, those are super cute.
You like the MR2s, Mrs. Wizard?
I love MR2s.
They are a cool car. One of the things that's also really cool about these cars is they get 30 miles per gallon on the highway. They don't burn through the gas. You can have fun, you can cruise around and enjoy the sporty top-down experience without draining your wallet and literally draining your gas tank. These are very reliable cars. As you guys know, they're a Toyota. They would be a car that you can hop in and just go cruise and have fun. And when you get back, you go do other things. You don't have to worry about the stress of, I hope it'll start. I hope halfway through our trip it doesn't spring an oil leak or something. I've actually heard from people that say the Toyotas are boring because they just drive. They just keep driving. They work all the time. But that's a good thing. It doesn't ruin your summer driving experience. These come in a 5-speed manual, and they also have a 6-speed SMT transmission, which is kind of like a paddle shifter, but it's actually down here. It's an automated manual. It's still a manual. It just does the shifting for you. I would opt for the 5-speed manual if you can find that. It can be less complex and less issues down the road, if there's going to be any issues at all. These have 140 horsepower and 130 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. And keep in mind, all of these that I list today are not barn burners. They're not hot rods. They don't fly through the quarter mile. They're just fun, sporty little cars to cruise around in the summer. You can pick up a nice example of these for $12,000 to $15,000. Obviously, you can find cheaper ones that need lots of work. And you can also find them that are perfect, immaculate. They're going to be $25,000 or more. But in the 12 to 15 range, you can find a good one that maybe needs a small amount of work, maybe paint buffing or wheels or something like that. And you can really cruise and enjoy the summer. The next one I'm going to recommend is 96 to 2004 Porsche 986 Boxster.
Ooh, we had one of those.
Yes, for a while we had a black Boxster that was used on Car Issues. I think it was actually the first season of Car Issues. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's also something that's very cool to watch, very fun to watch. These are the cheaper Porsches that you can buy. They're not 60 and 70 and 80 grand. They're more like 15 to 20. And in this era, the 986, which also during these years they had the 996, which is a 911, you're basically getting a 911 when you buy the Boxster. The rear of the car is a little bit different. It's arranged differently. But there was a running joke when these models came out that from about the driver's seat forward, there was no difference between a 911 and a Boxster. There isn't. It's the same steering rack, the same condenser, the same trunk, the same windshield, the same steering wheel, same dash. It's all the same. You can save a whole lot of money and buy a 986 Boxster and basically get a 911. There were various engine choices you could get based on what year model you chose, and these are all going to be the horizontal 6-cylinder engines. They had a 2.5, a 2.7, and then the 3.2 with the S model. These cars obviously handle very well. They're Porsches, and like I said, they're basically 911s. They handle really good. They have good power. They're in the 200 plus horsepower range. They got ample power. 0 to 60 in 6.5, and very Very fun to drive. I wish I still had the black one we had, Mrs. Wizard.
Why did you sell that?
I don't even remember. It was a long time ago.
For something stupid, I bet.
That was 37 cars ago.
Probably.
Yeah. These get 20 to 25 miles per gallon on the highway, maybe a little more. But they do have possible issues with the IMS bearing. We all know about the IMS bearing, the rear main seal issues they have in these cars. If you're looking to buy one, ask the buyer to see some sort of service records that that's been addressed, an upgraded bearing has been installed. And if it has, then you can buy with confidence. The rest of the car is actually fairly reliable. They actually really are. If it hasn't been done, you could probably talk the seller down on the price. You could plan on $3,000 to $5,000 to get that fixed, depending on if there's any damage, anything going on currently, or if it just everything's fine and you just would like to go ahead and replace it as a preventative measure. One way you can inspect to see if there's major damage happening or not before you buy it is just do an oil change. Take the plastic oil filter housing off and dump it into a white paper towel. If it looks like metallic spray paint with gold glitter everywhere, run. Don't buy it. But really, for all the talk about the IMS bearings, these really weren't that bad. The percentage is actually kind of small of those that had issues. But if it's already been fixed, buy it. They're really a good car. You can expect to pay $15,000 to $20,000 for a nice example of a 986 Boxster that doesn't need tons of work and possibly has had the IMS bearing done. For a perfect one with low miles, it's in excellent shape, you're looking at $30,000 or more. And guys, cars are going up. You guys know that. Everything is way more expensive. When I made this list today, I actually wrote down all these cars. I was like, I'm recommending or not recommending cars in the $20,000 range. It's like, am I doing something wrong here? I was like, no, I'm not. That's what they cost today. Cars are crazy today, guys. But anyways, let's move on to the next one. The next one Mrs. Wizard will not like is 99 to 2005 Mazda Miata.
Nope, not my kind of car.
You don't like the Miatas, huh?
No, not that. No. Give me an MR2 or, the XJR. Much more fun to drive. Or maybe give me my 308.
Yeah, it's getting there. There's actually going to be a video on that soon. Daniel's son worked over the weekend and got tons of things done on it. Lots of wiring and fuel system things done. So there's some updates on that coming soon. But back to the Miata. These are actually very fun to drive. They're very reliable. There are parts everywhere for these, and especially the aftermarket. You can buy aftermarket door handles, tail lights, headlights, wheels, brakes, anything you could imagine. You could do whatever you want to these cars. They are everywhere, and they are very, very popular. These cars are not fast. They're okay, they're pretty quick, but they're not. Don't expect it to be like an SS Camaro or a Shelby GT500. No, it's not going to be like that. But they handle extremely well. They will out-handle a Porsche 911. They are really, really good at handling. They're so small and light, and they were engineered very, very well. These get about 28 to 30 miles per gallon on the highway, and it's another car that you can buy and not drain your pocketbook or the gas tank. Like I mentioned, they're very reliable. They're also very easy to fix. It's a 4-cylinder inline. It's easy to get to everything. There's nothing on the car that makes you want to curse or throw wrenches across the shop. They're actually very easy to fix. But they are not for larger framed people. My size, or especially larger people than me, will not be comfortable in a Miata. It is a very small car. They're not very tall as far as the roof line. The seats are very narrow. I can drive one comfortably, but I'm about the maximum size that you can comfortably drive a Miata. If you're larger than me or taller than me, you probably will not like a Miata. These are actually very collectible cars. You can pick up a nice one for $10,000 to $15,000. Really nice ones are going to $25,000 and up. There's so many of them out there that the price isn't so high, but they are a really nice car. Now, we've checked out 3 cars that I said you should buy for summer cruising, small summer cruisers. Let's move on to 3 cars you should not buy because they will not enhance your summer. They will ruin your summer. You'll be pissed off at the car all summer long. Do not buy these next three. The first one do not buy is 1998 to 2006 Audi TT. These are not reliable cars. For whatever a Toyota can be for reliability, the Audis are the other end of the spectrum. They are not reliable at all. So don't even ask a question, are these reliable, Car Wizard? No, they're not. They're also very expensive to fix. That's one of the things customers have brought me these Audis in, and we just had one not too long ago. We had $7,000 into it, fixing so many oil leaks, suspension components that were failing. There was all kinds of issues, and by the time we got it all done, we spent over 2 weeks working on it. We had $7,000 into it. Now the customer did make a comment that they couldn't go out and buy one right now that's that nice. Might as well fix it, and I do agree with that. But on the other end of the spectrum, they put more into the car in repairs than they bought it for. They actually look amazing.
If you're a hairdresser.
No, not a hairdresser. They're actually a good-looking car. I actually like the Audi TT. I think they look great. But the good looks wear off really fast after it breaks down on you 2 or 3 times and leaves you stranded during your summer cruising, which you had a smile on your face, and all of a sudden it turned to a grimace, and you're like, what the hell was I thinking when I bought this car? This is stupid. So the good looks can be very deceiving, so make sure to keep that in mind. You can get these in a manual, but they have also the Tiptronic transmission, and anyone that's in the car world or is a car enthusiast, if you mention the word Tiptronic, they instantly get a frown on their face and are like, nope, I would never have a Tiptronic car. I don't know so much if it's because of reliability issues, but just the way they shift, the way that they work, and they're just kind of sluggish. It is not a driver's car if you have a Tiptronic transmission. That's the general consensus anyway. Our Boxster that we had, which is also a Volkswagen product, had Tiptronic, and it was okay. It was pretty nice, but some people absolutely hate Tiptronic. It's easy on these cars to get the cost of repairs to equal what it costs to buy the car within the first 6 months. If they haven't been maintained or if they got lots of miles on them, it will be constant nickel and dime. Every time you turn around, this is leaking. That has quit working. The power window doesn't work anymore. This is acting up. The suspension's creaking. It just doesn't stop. And it can very quickly ruin that fun summer driving experience. And then you just park it because you're tired of it. Next one we're going to move on to is any of the 60s or 70s Volkswagen convertible Beetles. I know these are addicting. They're so cute. They really are a cool looking car. But the stories that go behind the maintenance of these cars and the repairs of these cars, it ruins people's summers. What they have in mind or the anticipation they have of being a fun, cool summer in a convertible Beetle turns into a nightmare. They're old technology, they're air-cooled engines, and if you drive it in extremely hot weather, it can cause issues. And that's another thing that brings to mind is today's gasoline does not work very well in carburetors. We all know that. It's very easy for the gas to boil right out of the carburetor, especially if you park the car, you go inside to do some shopping, and you come out and crank. We actually did a Volkswagen Transporter that was in here for a customer. We converted it to electronic fuel pump because of that very reason. They got tired of it boiling the gas out. He said, I've tried 91 octane, 87 octane, I've tried the 93 octane, I've tried all kinds of gas. It doesn't matter. It just boils the gas out and vapor locks all the time. That is not a fun summer cruising experience. So based on that, I would say stay away from the air-cooled cars. Also, most people don't understand them. A lot of younger generation guys, they understand fuel injection, V8s, V6s, and they open the back hatch of a Beetle and they just scratch their head. They're like, what is that? What's going on here? And they try to fix it and they end up breaking it and making it worse. Another thing is rust. It could look good on the outside. You buy the car, you actually get underneath and start looking around and half of it's rotten away. That would really ruin your summer. Most of these cars sit for years at a time. They run into some carburetor trouble or some other issues and they can't figure it out. They park it and 6 years go by and then you try to drive it It won't start. Something's wrong. What's it going to take to fix it? And it's set so long that so many things are wrong with it now, and it adds up really, really fast. Keep in mind, if you do look at one of these, there were some that had air conditioning, but even though it had it, it was very poor. It hardly did very well. But for the most part, you can expect no air conditioning, no automatic transmissions. Even though they did have an auto stick, it's still a manual. So you're only going to have manual transmissions, no air conditioning, no cruise control. They didn't even have cruise control in those cars. And most of these cars are going to be 1300 cc, 1500, 1600, which is 1.6 liter, 1.3. They have pretty decent power, but they're not very fast at all, like 60 horsepower, 50 horsepower. It's not a lot. As older these cars are, they're still very collectible. You can expect 15 to 20 grand for a nice one. They can be $30,000 or $40,000 for a really, really nice one on Bring a Trailer. So you're not going to pick up an air-cooled convertible Beetle for cheap. If it is cheap, there's probably tons wrong with it. For the love of God, do not buy an 80s or 90s VW Cabriolet, which is basically the Rabbit convertible. These have the very complex Bosch Jetronic system on them, and although the systems work okay when they're working, there's a downfall to these cars. Every single one I've ever worked on has one common problem. It's been sitting for 10 years or more. They all have done that. People buy these cars, a little thing goes wrong, they put it on the back shelf in the corner of the garage, and it sits for 10 years.
That was the bane of your existence at the old shop.
Yes, I hated that car. There was a green one I worked on. Everything needed to be redone on that car, from front to back, the engine, the seals, the transmission, the fuel system. It was ridiculous. It had sat for 15 years, I think. This one was the last one I worked on, and I didn't have a choice because my landlord at the time, it was his car. Luckily, I own this place, so there's no landlord. It's very easy to get thousands and thousands of dollars into these cars. The fuel system alone can be thousands of dollars, and some of the parts can actually be hard to find. One thing that I've found, and this includes the Car Ninja, you guys watch Hoovie's Garage and you've seen Johnny the Car Ninja at German Motor Works there in Wichita. There's several other friends I have, one in Atlanta, which is Ed Bolian's mechanic. Several really good prominent mechanics I know all over the country have said, we have stopped working on Bosch Jetronic because it's not worth it anymore. You soon rack up 5 grand, 6 grand replacing all the parts, a warm-up regulator, there's the accumulator, there's injectors, there's distributor head, which is $1,000 or $1,500. And then you just start piling up all these parts because it's set for so long, and the labor involved, and the tooling it takes to do them all, and you usually end up with a very angry customer.
But can they be updated to a new system?
You can, but it would probably cost that much or more, 5 or 10 grand to do it. So, not really. So just keep that in mind. Any car that you find with the Bosch Jetronic system, you're not going to really find mechanics anymore to work on them. It's not about capability, it's about viability. Is it worth it? Is the dollars worth it? And the answer is no, it's not. So we turn them down.
Okay, Wizard, so which other cars have the Bosch Jetronic systems on them?
Tons. Any of the 80s, early 90s, even 70s, Volkswagens, BMWs, Porsches, even the Ferraris, all kinds of European cars had these systems. Bentleys, Rolls-Royces of those eras, they all used this system. And at the time, they were a good system. But all of these cars I just mentioned sit for 10 years, 15 years. The whole system is ruined. And to go through all of it is 5, sometimes 10 grand. Like I mentioned, especially with the Volkswagen Cabriolet or any of those cars I just mentioned, you probably don't want those anymore. They're not a go-to option anymore. But if you do find one of these, they're going to be $10,000 to $15,000 for a decent one, and they can be $20,000 or $30,000 for a really nice one. So those are the 3 do not buy, but I will include a 4th bonus do not buy. You guys just watched the SL600 that we had here in the shop with the convertible top literally spraying you in the face with hydraulic fluid. Don't get conned into one of these guys. Unless it's verified maintenance, verified repairs with documents, service documents, and you're probably going to pay a hefty price for one of these. 20 or 30 grand. Don't buy one of these as a project and think, I'll fix it up for a summer cruiser. You'll get in over your head so fast, you won't know what happened. There is the option, if you find one of these, to put the convertible top in its stowed position and just leave it there permanently and never use it again. Actually, some of the commenters on that SL600 video said just put the top down and never use it again. And that's true. That's something that you can do. But there's other systems that can go wrong and things that can be very expensive on these cars. But if you buy this car and you're going to put the top down and leave it down, you just ruin the resale value. You're not going to fix it. The next guy's probably not going to want to fix it. You're stuck with that car. So keep that in mind as well. You've officially made a Mercedes hoopty. So hopefully when you're scanning Facebook Marketplace or Bring a Trailer and you're looking for that summer cruiser to cruise with the top down, a small one, you can watch this video and say, well, here's the 3 that are good and 3 that are bad, actually 4 that are bad. And hopefully it'll help you make a decision, an informed decision. And that's the point of these videos, to help you make an informed decision. So we got tons of cars in the shop and I've really got to get back to work. And if you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use for any of the cars in the shop.
You mean to fix my 308?
Yes, and the 308 as well. Check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's so many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.